We're just going to go through this slate real quick because it's a weird one. We've got 3 games, and it's hard to get different. Come in. Sorry, we've got some issues here, some technical issues with the restroom, so I'm gonna be streaming with people coming in and out of the room. So sorry about that. But I'll give everybody a chance to jump in. I think that the best thing to do is to maybe play some of the suboptimal plays. You have guys like Tobias Harris, Chris Middleton, Drew Holiday, overpriced probably for the situation, but at the same time, like it's probably okay that we can, take shots on these guys to try to get different because you're going to see just massive ownership on the Giannis, Embiid, Harden, Durant combination, and Beal even. I think we'll get quite a bit of ownership as well. So we want to try to find ways we can get different while, still trying to, I don't want to say be optimal, but be closer to optimal. It is going to be a strange situation. I would like to get a Cleveland starting lineup. With the go ahead and fire off questions because this is not really like there's not a whole lot I can talk through this that's going to be incredibly unique. I like Giannis with the stack of Orlando. I don't think Portis, Middleton, Holiday will be that popular. I don't think Grayson Allen will be very popular. You could play him as a pivot off of some of the other cheap guys. On the Orlando side, Mo Wagner and Hampton are still two of my favorites. I do like Frazier and I do like Gillespie quite a bit, but I understand they're going to be very popular. Same thing with Wendell Carter and Franz Wagner. If Wagner's ownership, I think it's going to be they're way under projecting it, but I really like Wagner and you could use that as a full game stack. On the Philly side of things, again, like I mentioned, you can play Tobias Harris at too high of a price tag. It's just, maybe people say he doesn't have a ceiling on a big slate. Of course, we wouldn't even be considering this, but I think that you want to try and get different. This is one way you can do it. I think a guy like Thibault is interesting as a pivot off of other value. They're going to want him in the game to guard either Harden or Durant quite a bit, so he should play some minutes, even with Shake Milton back. I'm using a little bit of Shake Milton as well on FanDuel. But trying to get a little bit different, a guy like Patty Mills, I don't think is really viable on a normal slate, but maybe that price range, he can just sort of, maybe he can get to 35 or 40 and that will probably be good enough. So trying to get a little different using those guys. But as the main plays are for me in spend ups in order are Embiid, followed by Giannis, followed by Durant, followed by Harden. But I'm trying to mix in these other plays so I can try and get a little cute with it. I don't know how LaMarcus Aldridge is going to match up with Embiid. So maybe you could take a shot on Claxton as well. I think Cleveland and Washington, all these games are stackable-ish. I don't know who's going to start for Cleveland, and I'm curious because I'll take a shot on a Pangos who's not going to project all that well. You do have, Valentine is probably my preferred play off the bench, and I'm going to have him probably well more than the field. You're going to lose, unfortunately with Windler and Stevens back, he's probably not going to be quite as necessary, but he does handle the ball and he can do some big things. So I do think that's a guy I'm going to be looking at. Bradley Beal, I think, is going to be lower owned than the other guys, so I'm going to play more Bradley Beal. KCP is completely viable. I think I slightly prefer Kispert to KCP, everything considered, and I think Kuzma has a chance at a big game, and Gafford is basically a staple. So that's sort of my run through of the games really quickly. What's up, Kevin? What's up, Dunbar? What's up, MJ? MJ? We're in a weird slate here, so really fire on the questions because I really don't know what else to talk about other than what I was just saying. We need starting lineups before we can make final decisions, but you want to try and just play some of these maybe lower owned value plays. Guys like I mentioned, Pangos, who's not the most exciting play. I do prefer all the other guys, but I just think you want to try to find ways you can get different on this little slate, and hopefully you can hit the right part of it. Oh, it looks like Pangos is starting, so that's going to make me force Pangos into some of my lineups. Because I just want to take some shots on other guys. And he's not an exciting play by any means, but I'm going to have to force him in just because on just from a game theory perspective, it just makes too much sense. So I'm going to definitely want to get some Pangos exposure. Not to say that he'll be unowned either, by the way. It's just another way to do something a little bit different, and you're still not going to be that different entirely. That's just the way the slate goes. But yeah, fire on in the questions because I don't know what else to really talk too much to other than the things that I've sort of been covering already. Leaving money on the table is extremely viable if you're going to play a chalkier build. Playing guys like Seth Curry is going to be maybe a little bit lower owned, and then maybe leaving like 500, 600, and 700 on the table with a guy like that. That might be a viable route. So that's what I'm looking at personally, and if you guys have different takes, let me know. I'm here. I just want to try to optimize with the try not to be optimal, because I really think that we get too caught up in trying to make the best plays. I think this is the kind of slate you got to treat it like a football showdown slate a little bit. Try to find some of the less optimal plays that have a chance at getting there. Really like Evan Mobley, by the way. I hope that he doesn't go through the roof with his ownership, and I don't think that he will be as owned as he should be. So maybe playing guys like that more often. I'll probably have him in like 40% in my lineups, maybe a little higher. Is Mobley a favorite spend up at FanDuel? No, the favorite spend up by far on FanDuel is definitely Embiid, but I do really like getting to some Mobley and Kevin Love for that matter, but I prefer Mobley over there for what it's worth. Let's see, we've got another guy who's doing something. Pangos is starting. There we go. Yeah, we got another seemingly troll situation. I don't know what exactly it's about, but that guy is not going to be here. If he's saying, "What am I talking about?" Just be specific. Give me a direct question. I'm happy to answer it. I'm talking about the NBA slate and ways you want to try to maximize your efficiency while at the same time knowing you have to take some chances if you want to play tournaments. If you're playing cash games, it's different. If you're playing cash games, you probably should just quit. Don't play cash games on this slate. This is not the kind of the NBA slate and ways you want to try to. This is not the kind of the slate that we need to do any of this. I just think it's crazy. Let's see. Beal's going to be. I think this is one of those times. Sheets asked if it's one of those times to play Beal on DK. I absolutely am forcing Beal in on DK. So yeah, that's I think a really good move. I don't think it's going to be totally unique, but we need to try to find ways we can get unique however we can. So that's where I'm at. All right, let's see. What else have we got here? Keep firing in the questions, because it is a really hard slate to, without the starting lineups, especially to try to completely break down. Because, I mentioned my favorite spend ups. If you guys want me to redo that again, I'm happy to say it. I really like getting to Wagner, who might get a little bit overlooked. I don't know why he would, but I'll be like the guys who I'll be above on and below on. I'm probably going to be above on Giannis, even if he's really highly owned. I'll be way above on Embiid. He's going to be in almost all my lineups. Durant and Harden, I give Durant the slight edge. I think Harden will be a little bit more popular because people get a little nervous with the coming back. So I'll give Durant the edge just based on that alone. Also, position eligibility is a thing. Maybe forcing Bruce Brown into some builds. We've seen him have some good games in the past, and this could be a spot where you could use a guy like that who at really low ownership. And that's just the name of the game, is to try and find a way to get a little bit weird, with your semi-chalky-ish builds. Another guy who no one's really going to talk about is Lauri Markkanen. These are not optimal plays. These are not like incredible plays, but we want to try to get a little bit different with our stacks. And I think we're going to have to try and play some of these guys and force them in because it's just too easy to go with the chalk today. I don't know what, Brian. I don't have that at all. Like, I don't have Kuzma as being higher owned. Mention sites, guys. I have no idea what you're talking about if you're talking about FanDuel. So I'm happy to talk to FanDuel, but I don't know if you're saying that the Kuzma is going to be significantly higher owned than Kevin Love. That is definitely not what I have. I have Kevin Love as more popular on DK. So that's where it is. I don't know which site you're talking about. I don't think Kuzma is going to be more owned than Kevin Love. So I don't think Kevin Love's a pivot. I think Kevin Love is just a good play, period. And I think Kuzma is a good play. There's just a lot of guys here to choose from. So keep popping in any thoughts or ideas. Right now we're sort of playing the waiting for the new. Yeah, I love Hampton. I mean, Hampton's going to be really popular, but I still love Hampton. I do like Frazier too. I think you can play them together, by the way. I think they will get some minutes together as well. But I think that I have Hampton more than I'm going to have Frazier, but I'm going to have good exposure to both of them. So, and I will have them together some because I think it's fine to do so. You could also play, the Frazier and Pangos instead if you want to go a little different. That's fine with me as well. It's not all that exciting that we have this situation, right? Like we wanted to have a nice slate, and we really didn't get it because I thought with the last game it did offer us some opportunities with the extra spend ups to really get a little unique, and it's just we don't have that opportunity anymore, unfortunately. So I also think there might be overlay in some tournaments, so keep an eye out for that on some of your things, because I think people don't know what to do in the situation, and they just sort of, I'll just forget the slate or whatever. So you're right now I'm showing potential overlay in a lot of tournaments, so I would try and get exposed to some of that stuff. Let's see. What else have we got? Let's see what questions popped up. DK, yeah, there you go. That's DK. Yeah, I think they're both good plays, and I give the slight edge to Love, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if Kuzma got there. Um, FanDuel point guards. I am getting weird with it a little bit. I'm playing a little Shake Milton to try and get just off of the chalk on my large field tournaments, and I am playing Tim Frazier. I'm playing a little George Hill to get weird with it, because it is on FanDuel. It's not like the most exciting position. Hampton and Frazier are the best plays. Harden would be the next one for me. Um, and then I think Shake is even going to have some ownership, so you could play Maxi as well. They're all going to have ownership. Drew Holiday is going to have ownership. Seth might be a little bit underowned over there, and I don't think people are going to play Patty Mills very much. Those could be your large field tournament plays, and I just don't think anyone's playing George Hill. So if I could differentiate my build by doing that, if you can get me like 18 fantasy points, that might be worthwhile enough tonight to where you can get there if it changes your build enough. Um, Gillespie is, yeah, no, Gillespie is like, I mean, he's going to be a virtual lock for everyone and for good reason. So there's nothing special, nothing to really talk about with Gillespie. I mean, he's a low usage guy who gets there in a lot of different ways, who's going to play minutes. And I think I think he's going to be one of the most popular plays, maybe the most popular play on the slate, or what was that? I don't know about most. He'll be one of the most popular plays on the slate, and he's going to play, what minimum he's going to play 24 minutes. Maybe he plays 32. I think that he's a guy who you're going to want to get in your lineups. So yeah, that's where I'm at with that. Um, let's see. Yeah, Gillespie is basically, we talked about that. Let's see. Anything else here? Doesn't look like too much. Yeah, so right now we're playing the waiting game for starting lineups, and that's going to dictate some of what we do. But I don't really know how else to talk much more about this three gamer. The guys who I'm currently way overweight on, I'll go through that again. Embiid, I'll have almost in every lineup, not all of them, but almost every lineup. Gafford, I'll be way overweight on. Again, he's going to be popular too. I'm trying to sneak in some Middleton just as a way to get a little different. Trying to sneak in a little bit of the Tobias Harris just as a way of getting different. Forcing in a few spots with Patty Mills. Hope he makes a million threes, something like that. It's really hard to get unique on this tiny 3-game slate. I'm going to play a lot of Denzel Valentine, and he's actually one of the guys who I really think you can get at lower ownership. Of course, he's not going to be starting, and he's 3,300. I mean, I wouldn't assume he's starting. He's 3,300. He can handle the ball, can create for himself and others. Has a chance, even if he only plays like is slated to play like 20 minutes. What if the game blows out either way? He could be on the court a lot. He's a guy who I'm looking at quite a bit. Yeah, I think the 4 Orlandos and Giannis is going to be pretty popular. So I would encourage people to try to go 3 or 5. I know that sounds weird, but like, and maybe play one of a different 5 than the obvious ones. Maybe play at least 2 guys off the bench if you're gonna do that, because I don't think people are gonna necessarily stack all of the guys off the bench and the starters together. Gary Harris is, I mean, look, it's hard to test and love. I think what you can do to also get different and potentially could work out is play Admiral Schofield a little bit. There's a really low owned play that probably will work out maybe 1 out of 10 times, but won't even be owned that much. And maybe it's not even that bad for him. Like, why couldn't he get the run over Franz Wagner? I'm sorry, over Mo Wagner, and the same exact price, and using mostly at the power forward spot. So I actually really like that idea. To try and get a little bit off the board is to play a guy like that. But that's how you have to try to win on these small slates. You have to play some suboptimal guys. It's like a showdown slate almost in NFL. You really have to try to play guys who aren't going to project well, who don't seem like the right plays, but do they have a path? And the answer is yes. So I'm like, I mean, I even in one of my single entries have some of the Schofield, just because I think that's another way we can get a little bit different. So anyway, the start, the way I would just, that's what Cheats is sort of echoing is really, I feel very strongly about, but I would just think it's important to include Schofield. I don't know if I can get to Brazdeikis for Orlando. It feels a little thinner than Schofield, and I think there's too many other guys. I just don't see how he gets enough fantasy points. I mean, he's played 12 minutes as I think is his season high, and I just don't see them going to him enough. But again, if you're playing, a large field GPP, that's what you want to be doing. You want to try to play guys who are not going to project well, who actually, if the situation plays out right, they could easily be out there closing. They could be out there in blowout run. And those are the guys who, you want to get some exposure to, the guys who I mentioned. So keep firing in any questions. I'll take a look back in just a second. Guys like Okoro and Dean Wade are definitely in play tonight, but there's just a bunch of these guys, and to prioritize them would be easy. Just say Hampton, Gillespie, Frazier, Wagner, but those are going to be the significantly the most popular. So why not mix in, the guys who are a little bit aren't going to project quite as well? Corey Kispert, Matisse Thybulle, Admiral Schofield, Denzel Valentine. Those are the kind of plays you can use, just one or two of those to get different in your build, and that's the way you can win. I love what she said. He said, if we can't win six figures with the general, maybe we can win it with the admiral. I like it. For those of you who don't follow us normally, that's a golf reference going back to General Patton Kazire. We almost got there a couple times with the six figures, but we didn't quite make it. Anyway, we hope Sheets is doing better. Sheets, good luck to you, man. I hope that hope this is quick and as painless as possible. I hate that you have to go through it. And yeah, so if there's no more questions, I'm probably going to go to my builds in a little bit. I will keep it. I'm not very good with the dead air thing. I end up feeling like I need to say more and all this stuff. So if you see me like dipping out a little bit, I do. You know what? I'm looking at some other plays who I didn't mention. I think being way overweight on Mobley is a really good idea. I want to just keep echoing that. There's a real ceiling there for him, especially with all the creators for Cleveland out. They could easily run their offense in the half court through him. And like I said, these non-optimal Philly play, like Thybulle's going to have to be out there to guard KD. So like maybe this is one of the games he makes three of his threes and he gets you 3 or 4 steals and a block and, gets 6 rebounds. And all of a sudden he's at 28 while these other guys are at maybe 22. And that's the way you're going to try to win on this slate, in my opinion, is to try and get different in a couple of these weird situations. I really, that last night was a crazy thing. The one great thing about this slate that I love is that we don't have to worry. We don't have to worry about anything because there's no other games later. We don't have to wait for late stuff. I mean, I wish I would have practiced what I preach all the time and tried to play like late thin value so I could have pivoted over to OKC. And I didn't even think Jalen Smith was as great a player, although he had a big game too. But all those OKC guys just went nuts, and it was so frustrating to get that shade news when we did. I don't think Mobley and Love together make a lot of sense, but then again, most people won't either, Rashad. So it's absolutely viable. It's not my favorite thing to do, but I think that it's not what I'm doing, but I think that it's viable because that's not how people are going to build. So I kind of like that. Let's see. A big GPP been shown to cure COVID. Big GPP win has been shown to cure COVID. There it is. So we need to get Sheets a big win tonight to cure that COVID. Let's see what else we got. Anything else in the chat? It doesn't look like we got anything else for that. I think that the Mobley and Love is kind of interesting. Again, I'd like to see an official starting lineup. We did get the word that Pangos is starting, but I still don't have my official Cleveland starting lineup yet. Let me see if they changed it. No, it's still not there yet. Getting to some Markkanen is another one who's going to be sort of overlooked on this slate. Actually he's actually like a fine play anyway, but he could end up being a really good play. And maybe you could play a Markkanen and Love or Markkanen and Mobley. I kind of prefer those two together better than I do the Love Mobley, but I think that there is definitely an argument to play some of the Love Mobley. So take that for what it's worth. I mean, I'm just trying to find ways that I can get a little bit weird. So that would qualify if you're going to go ahead and do that. So I like that idea if you're going to force that one. Maybe you do want to try to get to that. And you know what? I'm going to try to overplay Bradley Beal, which kind of feels, I don't want to say wrong. It doesn't feel optimal, but it certainly has the path to working out. For what it's worth, I do think Hampton is a better play than Frazier. But I think Frazier's also a good play. And like I said, you can play them together. That's where I'm at. All right. What else have we got here? Again, leaving money on the table, completely viable tonight. Don't force it anything. Yeah, Beal is JJ Triple J. I just was answering that one. Yeah, Beal is there. Kevin, it's really hard to answer the 1v1 switches today because, and I'm guessing you're talking on FanDuel because that they don't come up in the same exact price range on DraftKings, but it's really hard to answer that 1v1 without knowing the rest of your lineup. Kispert will be more owned than Thybulle. I think Thybulle is actually on FanDuel has more. Well, Kispert probably has more upside, but Thibault can get there with steals and blocks against a Brooklyn team that can get sloppy. James Harden leads the league in turnovers. Maybe you can look at that because Thibault's going to play his minutes tonight. He's going to be out there guarding one of KD or Durant most of the game because he's their best defender. And this is the kind of spot where you'd want to use Thibault. So I would force him in. So I actually have a little more interest in Thibault than I do in Kispert, but I like Kispert as well. So I don't want to, say it's like it's a clear, you have to play Thibault over Kispert. I think Thibault is just a little bit of a better sneaky play. I think he might be, and I think he should be lower owned. I'm just going to check my current FanDuel ownerships and see if that actually is the case. Because the answer to most of the questions you guys are going to ask me for tournaments is going to be pick the less owned guy if you're going to ask 1v1s, because you just want the lower owned unless you already have a really weird lineup that doesn't, that doesn't need to be there. I mean, Kispert's going to project better than Thibault, and I think they're both going to be owned, but Kispert might be 37% owned. I think Thibault might be like 20. And I think Thibault in this matchup, and also he fits in sort of like a little bit of a stack you can make over there. So I kind of like that. But yeah, Bradley Beal is definitely a guy you want to try to force in, and you do have to kind of force him in because he's not the best play. I have him 35% on DraftKings because I just think he's going to be overlooked for guys like Harden and Durant. And why can't Harden and Durant both put up the same number as Beal, and then you save 1,000 by playing Beal? I think that's completely a viable route to take here. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I do want to try and make sure to get the Admiral Schofield in a little bit more, and I want to make sure I get a little bit more. I'm getting weird, like I'm throwing some Dean Wade lineups in there. It just doesn't feel great. I know that, but this is the kind of slate you probably should. Unfortunately, he'll be owned too. There's nothing unique. It's hard to get really unique on this slate. So unless you're playing Admiral Schofield, unless you're playing Schofield, Thibault together, that would be a good way to go on DraftKings that no one's going to do. Just Schofield alone, I just don't see him getting the ownership, and I think there's a path where he gets the run instead of Wagner. Even though I obviously prefer Wagner, I think Valentine is a great play. Also fits into that category of maybe a little bit off the board. Definitely has like a ceiling, a floor of like 2, but has a ceiling of like 45 or 50. I mean, we've seen that before in these types of situations, exactly these types of situations. And I like Valentine as a player, so I'm going to try to force me some extra Valentine. What else do we have? Me and Rody did the NFL. We loaded it. It's on. I put it in our Discord, and we had some nice. I think we had some good picks this week, and really interested in the ownership game as in football. To talk a little football for a minute, but just keep an eye out. Like that Dallas and KC receivers are just going to be underowned, and I think that's wrong. I think we should be way overweight on those guys, and I don't know why they're underowned, except for that there's not enough value. Supposedly, I think there is. I went through some builds, and it absolutely works. All right, what else have we got? Just with the Valentine thing, don't. This is one of those diets where we can't get upset if someone doesn't get there for us. You know what I mean? Like we're playing less optimal plays to try and win tournaments. I'm playing George Hill right now, currently in my main lineup on DraftKings. That's crazy. I'm on FanDuel. That's absolutely below low expectancy, but it allows you to get different with your build. And I think it's viable to try to, just for that reason alone. And even if he just gets me 15 or 12, it's just differentiating my build just enough to where I can, get off of the normal chalk builds. And there's no reason why George Hill couldn't end up with the same score as Tim Frazier or even RJ Hampton tonight. It's unlikely, but it's possible. And that's what you're playing for. You want to try and optimize the possibilities. Hey, Rashad, I'm 100% with you, buddy. I love the Cavs. I felt good about them before the season, and they're just a blast to watch. It's just a shame what happened to Rubio tearing the ACL. It's a shame where they're at right now. I really enjoy them, and I love this draft was amazing. Cade Cunningham, Franz Wagner. There's a lot of great players. I think Jalen Green is going to be great in a couple of years. But I really think Mobley might be the best player in the NBA at some point. Like he's got the ability. He's sort of a younger, more fluid, not quite as athletic Garnett is how I would describe him. I think he's freaking awesome. Oh, Niang is an interesting one who I didn't really come across in my breakdown. But let's see what we can do with Niang and where he fits in. I think that's viable. It's a little unfortunate for him to have, the other guys back, but Niang and Korkmaz are two guys who could actually get there. Korkmaz is projecting for nothing, but I don't really know. I don't know if we know for sure that he's in or out yet. So could really use some starting lineups here. But I think Yang fits the category of the things we're talking about. So I love that call right there. It's just hard. How is he going to get minutes? Because they're going to try to keep Thibault out there. So you kind of need Thibault foul trouble to get him out there. That's the only problem with Yang tonight for me. Whereas there's a path for Valentine to be the creator if they're having trouble moving the ball offensively. But I think it's an interesting call. I think you should. I think if you feel it, you should go with it. But yeah, I mean, talk about the Cavs. I mean, if they are literally, I know it sounds weird to say a superstar away, but like you could put like even like the 30th best player with what they have or the 25th. They have so many good players. They have like, I don't know, 7 guys who are top 100 players in the NBA. That's just not that common. And Kevin Love, like, I mean, off the bench, like his production per minute is freaking phenomenal. Pangos is starting. Yeah, we know that one. I still think he's going to be the lower end of the bunch, and probably for good reason, but I would get some exposure to him. He's probably going to project a little bit better now, but I think that playing him versus Hampton, I would prefer Hampton, obviously, but I think that getting a little lower ownership on him makes it appealing. Tim Frazier versus him, I think I prefer Frazier. Frazier may not have done it recently, but we have seen Tim Frazier put up games in the past. He's got experience. He can, he gets hot from downtown. He can be disruptive on the defensive end and potentially get a couple steals for you. It's he's just these guys should all just play minutes. They just don't have bodies, and we haven't seen, even as Orlando's been limited, they haven't been this limited so far this season. I'm going to jump, guys, but I really appreciate all you guys being there. Please get the like before we get out of here. I talked about Okoro earlier. I think Okoro is a really good piece, especially if you're going to get some more stacks of that game, which I think is really viable. And Okoro should play a bunch of minutes. I think that he gets sort of overlooked. People are like, oh, he doesn't produce. But when you take out all the guys who take up all the offense, he's going to have a chance to have more usage. Now, could he put up 10 fantasy points in 35 minutes? Yes. Can he put up 35 or 40? Absolutely. And I think he's a really, really solid play. And I actually think the ownership is not reflecting what a good play he is. So I like that play. Anyway, guys, good luck to everybody tonight. I hope that we crush it, and I hope we see some screenshots in the Discord. Sorry, I was getting crap for not posting my screenshots. Didn't feel good to post a screenshot for finishing second or third. I can't remember which one it was in the show, in the 100 single entry last night, because I had 7,500 in the big one, and I cashed in one of them, but it's it was playing for $1 million, so I don't do it on those nights. But I will try to keep doing it so we can all share in the enjoyment of winning, and I hope you guys all do as well. Again, smash the like before you get out of here. We really appreciate it. And thanks so much for being a part of True DFS. And let's finish the year strong. Good luck.